All right, today we're going to be talking about how to write decimals in standard form based on, or how to read and write decimals. So in your math notebook, you can write reading and writing decimals. Remember that the first couple of examples I go over, you will not write them in your notebook. You will just follow along, and then on the last example, and I'll tell you when, you'll actually record that and solve it in your notebook, okay? So remember when we're reading and writing decimals, we really have to think about place value. Okay, we really have to know our place values and know where numbers fall in that place value chart. So the first thing I want to kind of look at, sometimes they give you numbers that you have to write in the place value chart or in standard form, and they give you the expanded form version. Okay, so they might say 3/10 plus 2/100 plus 1/1000th, okay? And I've got to figure out how to write that, okay? First of all, I need to know that this is 3/10 because this is the tenths place. Then this is 2/100 because it's the hundredths place. And then this is 1/1000th because it is the thousandths place. Okay, so what I'm going to think about is if I were to really like overlap those numbers, 0 and 3/10, and if I'm trying to put in, my next number is 0 and 200, so I could put 0 again. Here's that 0 transferred. This 0 wouldn't change the value of that 3, it would keep it the same. And then I would put a 2 at the end of that. Okay, now I'm going to put this 0 over here from the thousandths over here. I got a 0 here. This 0 doesn't change the value of the 3. This 0 doesn't change the value of the 2, but I can tag a 1 on the end. So I end up with 0 and 321 thousandths. How do I write that? 0 here, decimal, and 321 thousandths. Okay. Sometimes they give it to you in expanded form with multiplication. So they say, let's say they say 4 times 100 plus 2 times 1 plus 3 times 1/10 plus 2 times 1/1000th. Okay. Now, break it down step by step. 4 times 100 is 400 plus 2 times 1 is 2. Plus, if I have 3 1/10 pieces, then that means I have a total of 3/10, right? If I have 3, because tenths are rods, if I have 3 rods, then I have 3/10. Okay. Now, if I have 2 1,000th pieces, that means I have 2 thousandths. And now I've broken it down into a format like we had earlier, and I can kind of put that together. Okay. 400 plus 2 is 402. Whoops, I wrote that wrong, I'm sorry. 402. Now, this 0 is in the ones place because it's right before the decimal. So that 0 is not going to change this 2's value right here. It's just going to leave it the same, but I can add decimal 3. Now this 0 is in the ones place. Again, it's not going to change that 2. This 0 is not going to change that 3. But I just tag on the other 2 digits, 0, 2. So I get 402 and 302 thousandths is how I would read that. The way I put that over here is 402 and 302 thousandths. Now I want you to try 2 different examples and see if you can solve them. Okay? 2 different examples, and I want you to try to solve them. One of them I'm going to write in word form, and one of them I'm going to write in expanded form. Or, excuse me, I'll do the word form example, and you just solve the expanded form one. So if I write 3,006 and 25 hundredths, I've got to figure out what that means or how to write that. Okay, if I try to write that in regular standard form, here's the first thing I do. Box out my normal numbers that I see. Okay, 3006. I know how to write 3006. 3006. And when I see that word and, it means decimal. So I'm going to put a decimal right here. Then I have 25 hundredths. Now that hundredths throws me off, but I know what 25 looks like. 25 looks like that. Now hundredths over here tells me what place value the last digit needs to be in, which is a 5. If I look back at my place value chart, that means that hundredths place is right here. So that means that 5 would need to be right there. And that 2 has to be beside it. So it would be right there. And what do you know? There's a decimal. So that must mean when I look down at my example, that right here beside this decimal goes 25. So that would be 3006 and 25 hundredths. So I'll write in my place value chart here the rest of my numbers. Okay. Now I want you to try this expanded form problem. Okay, remember how I solved my expanded form problem. I want you to try this expanded form problem and put it in your place value chart. If you have trouble, we will talk about it when we get together in our group.